Hello, I'm Casey Dinges, Senior Managing Director for the American Society of Civil Engineers. Thanks for joining us today for a discussion on how embracing risk early in your career can lead you to success. My guest today is Thalia Valkanos, an environmental engineer and now a legislative correspondent in the United States Senate. Welcome, Thalia.
Thanks, Casey. I'm so happy to be here.
Thalia, what prompted you to switch career paths from engineering to policy?
Well, I have to be honest, Casey. It was a very specific event, and that was actually the 2016 election. I wasn't too involved into politics growing up. I always voted. I always knew who my elected officials were, but beyond that, I wasn't too involved. But after the 2016 election, I realized as an environmental engineer that for the first time in my life, some policy may go into place that would negatively impact the environment.
How has your engineering background helped you better address public policy matters?
You know, all engineers go into school and we're all taught to think a certain way. And I don't believe that certain way of thinking is really taught in other majors. So I'm working mostly with public policy majors, political science majors, not too many people with technical backgrounds. And I believe I bring a really interesting perspective to their conversations because as engineers, we understand that the shortest distance to a point is a straight line. That's not always the way.
The world of public policy, not so straight.
Unfortunately, it doesn't always go that way. So I think I try to do my best to remind others that, this is the most direct way that we can approach it, but obviously that's not always the best way to go about it. But I think really it's just bringing in a different perspective, a new set of, just a way of thinking that I don't think is so commonly found on the Hill.
What were the signs that it was time for a career change?
Again, I know it's uncommon. It definitely was that isolated 2016 election, but I should definitely mention that I think for anybody, I think a sign is if you're in your current job, you understand your growth and you know what's coming next, and maybe you're not so excited about what's coming next. Maybe that doesn't seem like the best path for you. I would say that would be a time when you realize you need to kind of reassess and maybe go in another direction. And this actually recently happened to me in the past 6 months because after spending 12 months on the Hill, I started to get a better feel for what I was doing, where I potentially could go on the Hill, what my options were 5-10 years down the line. And after really thinking about those options, I realized I really, really missed working with engineers. So I recently accepted a job at an engineering firm in New England, CMA Engineers, and I'll be starting as a project engineer in January.
There's often fear in risk-taking. Would you say your experience has positively impacted your career?
Definitely, and you're right, there is a lot of fear when you make crazy career changes. I really abruptly left my very comfortable engineering job in New Hampshire to come to DC, and I didn't know anybody here. I didn't even have a job lined up. I signed a lease without having a job. I moved here really completely blind and luckily fell backwards into this wonderful position on the Hill, really, really lucky. But that was the most frightening decision I have made in my life. And I have to say it's been one of the best things that I could have ever done for myself, because when you do something that scares you so much, everything else seems so easy. And that is something I think I'll be able to take with me in my personal life and in my career. I mean, nothing really scares me anymore because I've already done something pretty extreme.
Yeah, you moved yourself to Washington. Was it a fact, this unique experience that you had kind of early in your career, was it a factor with your new employer in terms of their interest in you?
They were certainly encouraged by my experience on the Hill, not because they're looking for someone to obviously work on policy. They're an engineering firm, they're not creating policy, but they were really excited that I had spent a year and a half writing, strictly writing. I mean, I was doing a lot of writing and just communicating and having meetings with non-engineers. And I was really forced during those 18 months to change my communication style so it matched the style of others that aren't engineers, because I realized we're very specific in how we communicate and we're very direct, and sometimes that's not always the best way to communicate. So I've learned a lot of soft skills on this job, a lot of writing skills, and I certainly think CMA was excited to bring someone on who had actually spent 18 months really focusing on those skills.
What is your advice to young civil engineers who are looking to make a career change?
Well, I would certainly encourage them to do it. If you're a young civil engineer and you're thinking about making a career change, I believe that just having that thought of maybe I should do something different is enough to do it. If you're even having that thought, that's a sign that you should do it. It's easier to do when you're young, when you don't have a family and you don't have maybe as many responsibilities as someone older. But that being said, I wouldn't discourage older engineers to stay in engineering forever if, again, they're having that same thought, maybe I should explore something else. So I think it can be done at any age, but I mean, certainly if you're younger, you have fewer responsibilities. It's easy to just pick up and move and go across the country. And I should definitely note that, I'm evidence of this. You can go do something totally unrelated to engineering, and you have a job waiting for you when you come back, because as engineers, we are indispensable, and everybody is going to want to hire us at some point or another. And you don't have to be afraid of jumping into a different field and thinking, oh my God, this is it. And if it doesn't work out, I'm stuck here forever. You always have something to come back to. And I think that makes taking that risk so much easier.
For more information on ASCE's Interchange program, visit asce.org/interchange. Thanks for tuning in today, and we'll see you next time on the ASCE Interchange.